Hello everyone and welcome back to The Legend of Zelda, Pit of 100 Princesses. In this part, we do the last bits of side content before the final dungeon in the game. Ooh, fancy.
Woo.
So yeah, Ganondorf, Schmanendorf, yeah.
Better insults, Ted.
Okay.
Who said that?
So anyway, you could have started this as soon as, like, I think even, like, maybe just after the Arbiter's Grounds. Maybe before. I don't really remember. But you would have to redo the beginning floors if you did that, so screw that.
It's not required Phantom Hourglass.
Yeah, so you have to... So if you just go in once at the very end, A, you're more likely to win because you'll have more hearts and stuff. But B, it's just you don't have to redo anything. So, yeah. This is this game's... I believe it's called the Cave of Ordeals. This is this game's battle gauntlet dungeon thing. This was required in Wind Waker, right?
The first half, anyway. Yes.
Oh, gross. Okay. Anyway, since nobody wants to watch the whole thing, I was supposed to speed it up at this point. When do I start speeding it up?
Oh no!
Oh no!
You almost got the timing.
Oh
Twilight
no.
Princess Part 50, Twilight Princess Part 79, still here.
We get to floor 26 in this part. Man, this is way better than the 3 parts we spent on floor 30, right, guys? Right? I believe I show like the first 5 or something like that. I think I go until we see the Great Fairy the first time, just so that you get an idea of,
That's fair.
what we're doing. And these enemies are also all, like, beginning game enemies, so they're all really easy anyway. So they're not really that bad. Like, these guys are the plant dudes we've been dealing. Ow! Get off of my
As you get
shins!
munched.
That wasn't your
Okay,
shin.
good job.
That was your. Those weren't your shins.
I
Those were
think
your
his
lungs.
shins were in there.
Those weren't your shins, Ted. Those were your lungs.
They got all the way down to my shins at some point. That thing had a big mouth. Alright. So the shins were Okay, Link, there's still 2 left.
The teeth were on his shins. 1 row of teeth was on his shins.
Okay. I gotta say though, this is like the most boring looking battle arena I've ever seen. It's a dirt floor and some like very faded tomb walls.
It's not the most visually interesting, but at the very
No.
but you know, none of these ever are. What I appreciate is that it's quick to get from floor to floor, because it always seems like whenever getting to a new floor in one of these things, it always takes forever. Like what's it?
Yeah,
Like,
in Wind Waker you had to like go through the whole hole in the floor and then do the zoom in and fade out and all that other stuff.
Yeah, there's no loading screen.
yeah, like even something like Paper Mario, you have to go through the pipe every floor for them to load a new room. Even though, again, none of these rooms are very big and or demanding, so it should be able to load a little bit faster, is the thing. So I appreciate that it respects your time in that way. And all things considered, this is one of the shorter kind of one of these dungeon challenge sort of things, because it's only 50 floors as opposed to I think 50 might have actually been the general length of some of the other ones. John, how tall is the tower in Link Between Worlds where you fight the Moldorm at the top?
Wait, Link Between... Well, I guess it doesn't matter if you meant Link to the Past or Link Between
Well,
Worlds.
do they have like, because they had like a battle tower in Link Between Worlds.
Well, the Tower of Hera is the 3rd dungeon in Link to the Past.
He's talking about the defeat enemies minigame thing in Link Between Worlds.
No, that wasn't terribly long, actually.
I remember it being like at least 15 minutes or so. Like, it wasn't as much of a trek as one of these is, but, you know.
No, they were much
not even
harder
close.
though.
Yeah.
They added a lot more
I'd
to
rather
start.
it be shorter and harder.
Well, the
than
thing is, they
just,
had
like-
different. The thing is, they had different difficulties.
I'm really on and off with these. I'm really on and off with these sort of things, because just the idea of heading into one is exhausting to think about, like Pit of 100 Trials, or any sort of similar challenge. The one in Paper Mario 1000 Year. I don't think I ever did the one in 1000 Year.
It's long.
Because
and if
yeah.
you die, you have to do the whole thing all over again.
Final
That's the part
Fantasy
that
X
really
too.
kills it for me.
Final Fantasy X-2 had something similar. I think it was Via Infinito, and it was like, ugh. It's like I really don't want to do.
On the other
this.
hand, just not having an Olympus Coliseum challenge in Kingdom Hearts 3, I don't know. It feels like.
But even then, that wasn't 100 battles.
It was
You
a
know?
tournament style,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and only just a few
I
battles.
mean, all right, I see what you mean, Lewis. I mean, Hades is pretty bad about that, 'cause that's 50. But that, at the very least, had interesting bosses in between every 10 rounds. You know, it was the only way you could fight Hades. You had the Rock Titan at the end of it. You know, so there was incentive, I feel, in getting more of the experience out of it, rather than just, you know, fighting the same Heartless you've been fighting the entire
Yeah.
game. But, you know, when it's just a mook rush, like, 'cause there's no bosses at the end of this, right?
They do throw out
Technically,
some of
sorta.
the more interesting enemies, and there are some arrangements you haven't seen before, but there's not
Yeah.
anything, as far as I can
Not a
remember.
unique boss.
There's no exclusive boss, and there's no unique enemies.
Yeah, because if you throw like an exclusive boss, maybe like a super encounter, that's incentive. You know, just to see more of it. Also, I completely forgot that fairies were just about naked in this.
Oh,
game.
yeah.
Wow.
Also, those wings shouldn't be able to lift you at all. Like, I know they're big and glowy, but they're also made
Magic.
of light, so they're not going
Magic.
to affect the wind.
Magic.
You're gonna have
Anyway, do you need a shirt or something?
to. God, I'm cold.
maybe the wings are keeping her warm.
Maybe.
Yeah, so they'll tell you, oh, if you don't have this item, you probably should go and get that, but you also have to walk all the way back down if you don't have the item. So, you know, sucks to be
Oops.
you. One thing that they do is that you have, in order for there to be fairies at the fairy spring, you actually have to do all of this stuff in order for that to be there, which is neat.
Oh man, and then Link discovered coffee.
Zoom! Minna, look, I'm gonna throw this thing. Minna, look at him beating up
Oh,
this guy.
Christ,
Minna,
he's been
Minna,
like this
Minna,
all
Minna!
day!
Hey, look, I'm wee! Oh man, a slime draws near. Command.
Command.
Whack it with your sword.
Command.
Whack it with your sword. Whack it with your sword. Whack it with your sword.
Da-da-da-da-da-da. Yeah, so I sped up this whole thing because I believe, okay, so this was ×5 speed up. So I guess this thing took me like 45-ish minutes to beat on my own without like doing anything else. Granted, I'm pretty slow at this as far as I can tell. So like I'm not great at video games, so this might take you less time if you're good at video games, but
I like
yeah.
how you keep starting out with that jumping slash off the cliff.
Well, it's the right thing to do.
It's the right thing. You're not in any position to actually aim it, so it's a crapshoot as to whether you hit with it. But it's a good way to open.
But if it does, then it's a time saver in that way.
I'm also less likely to be whacked by something as soon as I hit the ground that way as well.
Yeah.
You know. Oh, this one's important because this is like finding choo-choos is one of the only ways you can get more healing down here. So trying to make sure you get the colorful ones before they get eaten up by the purple ones is pretty important.
Because Link doesn't like the purple drink.
No. We don't know what's in purple drink. It could be anything. All we know it's purple. And purple Kool-Aid's
It's grape
like,
flavor.
oh, grape
All right,
flavor's
fine.
worse.
We realized you didn't like the cartoonish aesthetic of Wind Waker, so here's a half-naked fairy. But we're not giving you all the titty.
That's
Just
what
enough.
DeviantArt is for.
Only mid titty.
Only mid-titty.
It's not, you get like kind of a side boob, I guess. But like, I don't even know why they bothered covering it, because they just have Minna not wear a shirt at all later. So,
Yeah, but she's an imp. They can get away with it just by having
No.
a fantastical design.
yeah, but no, because
And
like,
also her
adult-
markings kind of imply clothes too.
Yeah.
So it's like if you don't.
Imply, though, being that, I mean, if you're an adult, then, you know, there's implications, and I was like, haha, she's naked.
Yeah.
They're trying to go for that sort of elegant fantasy art style rather than something cartoonish. So,
Yeah, but there's no nipples, so they're ultimately cowards.
well, the thing is, it's usually covered
let
up in
Link have nipples.
It's usually it's usually covered up.
Wait, Link has
It's usually
nipples.
conveniently covered up in that kind of fantasy art too. So you could just
Yeah.
say they're sticking true to the style, you know.
Oh, damn it.
They just sniped you as soon as the door went down.
Who had time to build one of these down here?
Well, okay,
They did, 'cause they had nothing else to
yeah,
do.
they're stuck down here. Like, you might as well.
Where
at
did
that
they
point,
get the
right?
wood?
Dude.
Are there Deku Babas down here?
Yeah, we just killed some.
Okay,
Were
there
there
you go.
Deku
You got some-
Babas
you got
in the
some
same
Deku sticks.
room? Not anymore.
Why is no one around when I make these quips?
Oh, you killed them last week. Oh, right. Like, I mean, I think one of the problems with doing this in Zelda is that the combat's not very interesting.
Yeah, you know,
It's not diverse enough.
in Breath of the Wild, this might have been pretty challenging because the combat in general.
I mean, Breath of the Wild pretty much has it in the
yeah.
DLC.
Yeah,
I
the
mean,
Trial of the Sword is actually interesting though,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
that's
but-
more about the environment than the fights themselves.
Yeah, like it does it really well, but it's still the same core concept.
But Breath of the Wild does combat more challenging than your standard 3D Zelda game. So that kind of challenge in that game is more interesting. There's also more options, so...
So if you don't have the item required, when you leave, do you have to do the entire thing over?
Yep. This is why you don't start it until you have everything, like I did. But you see, I think the thing though here is that you kind of can see it as I'm playing in that I'm trying to cheese as many of these as possible by either like shooting stuff from on top of the arrows from the top layer where they can't reach me, or trying to mortal draw everything so that I kill it in one hit or whatnot. I'm not trying to like actually fight this stuff with the actual combat. And now the sword play in Breath of the Wild is not drastically different from the sword play in this. If anything, it's more restrictive because you have less options. But the big difference is that Breath of the Wild is a game about finding those kinds of cheese strats, like, that's the whole point. So you can get away with it a little bit better, and the Trial of the Sword in that one is designed around that. It's designed...
It's not cheese if it's intended, though.
Yeah, or...
It's you're just being smart.
Yeah, or if it is cheese, it's gourmet cheese, So...
I've never had gourmet cheese, so I have no idea what that's like.
Me neither, actually. I think it's just normal cheese, but for people who think that they're...
It's expensive cheese.
It's expensive cheese. There we go. So, yeah, but, so in Breath of the Wild, they do things like give you different vantage points, you have to find your items as you use them and stuff like that. In this, it's just, you go in with all of your stuff and you plow through to the end, It's not necessarily as fun, and there's not as much room for strategy like there might be in a more traditional turn-based kind of RPG.
It's
kind of
like
that.
It's kind of like playing old school Resident Evil 2 in the in extra battle mode, extreme battle rather.
What was that?
Extreme battle mode was an extra mode that you unlocked after you beat the main game's B scenario, and basically it was Hideki Kamiya like just giving up on not making an action game.
Yeah.
So you get like the basics of Resident Evil resource management, but the weapons you get are way more powerful way earlier on. Like a few stages in, you can get a rocket launcher with several shots that you can just blow enemies away with, that kind of thing. But it is like a little mini campaign, and I really wish they had included something like it in the remake because it was really fun back in the day. Where you went through this set of stages. Probably takes a couple hours to do, maybe if you're going a bit slow. And
So is it like a precursor to the Mercenaries mode from some of
Ish,
the others?
yeah.
Ish?
Okay.
Okay.
The Mercenaries wasn't really a thing until Resi 3, but Extreme Battle was kind of the earliest version of it, yeah. But whereas the Mercenaries mode that we know is this sort of like you go into a stage for 5 minutes and blow away enemies until the clock says you're done. When I say Extreme Battle is a mini campaign, I mean you go through a series of stages from point A to point B with a clear end goal in mind, and you pursue that goal. I think it was like, was there a bomb or something in the police station you had to defuse or something? I think that was it. Anyway, you start down in the Umbrella Lab, and you have to make your way through the whole game's environments backwards, essentially. Except it's really
That's neat.
fast-paced and action-focused.
That's kind of neat. Were you playing as Claire and Leon in that, or
You could play as Claire, you could play as Leon, you can play as Chris Redfield, and I think Ada Wong.
Okay, yeah, that's neat. Yeah, I mean, granted, I guess it just depends on how much you like combat in clunky Resident Evil PS1 gameplay, though. But yeah,
I think the only other stipulation was that like you started out with 5 ink ribbons or something, and you didn't get any more throughout the game, so you had to be careful about where you saved.
Okay, yeah. So, yeah, like that's a neat idea, I guess. But again, I think the limitation is the gameplay style. Where
that's kind of what I was driving at by bringing it up. Is like the combat itself is really simple. It's it's the decision making that you make along the way that makes it interesting to play through as a challenge. You know.
Yeah. Okay. Whereas there's literally just dudes. Though,
yeah.
So.
There's you, your enemy, and the simple ass combat. So I said that a bit weird. But
Fighting enemies, taking care of floors, and finding chests full of armor fuel.
yeah.
Well, no, we don't even find armor fuel. We find stamps now.
That you can't even use anymore.
No, I mean rupees for your magic armor.
Yeah, but that's the thing. In the chest, you don't even get that. You get stamps, which you can't use anymore.
No, there's armor fuel on the floor right there.
Oh yeah, that's true. Like you get plenty of money so that you're not really going to be running out of stuff.
I forgot, like, how much of a defensive buff is the magic
It's
armor?
you're
damage at all.
invincible. You lose.
You're invincible.
You
Yeah,
lose
until,
rupees
like,
instead of your
run out
rupees
of
become
rupees.
your health bar essentially. Think of it like that. So when you run out of money, you run out of life, which is actually means that this game is a precursor to the greatest game of all time.
Oh no.
Tingle's rose-covered rupee wonderland.
I
You gonna
thought
die?
the greatest game of all time was Link's crossbow training.
It's
That was clutch
a
as shit,
tie.
That was very close. That was.
It's
a little
it's
bit
okay.
Too close.
I, too, like to live dangerously.
Yeah, but I've got magic pants on, so it's okay.
Getting practice in for that 3-heart run.
Oh God, trying to do this in a if you did this in a 3-heart run, especially a 3-heart Ganon run, you could
Nope.
you couldn't get hit. That's the only thing. You just could not get hit at all.
Cannot get hit at all.
Yeah. Also, you can tell I'm being very stingy with my healing. Oh wait, no, never mind. Oh yeah, I
Oh.
wanted to use the golden
double
chew
damage.
that I got, but I got hit immediately. And unfortunately, it's get hit, not take damage. So the magic armor.
They
doesn't
thought,
let
yeah,
you
they
choose
thought they
that.
thought around that.
Damn.
You might as well take off the magic armor then.
Well, I also I might as well use it so that I'm getting some use out of the rupees that I find as well. Is the idea that I'm having.
Yeah, I suppose. It's not like Ganon's hard, so. I mean, he's not.
Oh no.
This is just Link's warm up before the final fight.
Yeah, this is the training montage music that he's got going on here. So yeah, like here, I don't feel like fighting 3 Iron Knuckles tanks. So I'm gonna drop bombs whenever I can, because again, it's not like bombs are expensive or not plentiful. So I
You
might
got
as well
49
just
of the fucking things.
I would use bomb arrows, but I feel like they deflect those
Yeah,
immediately.
they block those.
Yeah, so there's not much point in doing that. Also, I think you aren't completely starved for health too. Like I know besides the choo-choos that drop, sometimes with Wolf Link you can find hearts under the ground. So if you really want to check every floor, then feel free to do that. I saw that you found there was a 200 rupee drop after one of them at one point.
Yeah.
I'm also just really bad at fighting the night enemies in this game because I never know when you're supposed to go in for the
Don't miss
attack.
a chest.
They're not the most obvious version of that monster.
Yay, a fairy!
You got Navi stamp.
Are we done now?
I think so.
Yay!
Yeah, you did it.
Okay, so it was cool how you started off lying down and then you stood up, but now you've just been standing this whole time? Oh, you're gonna walk to us now, okay.
What, are you mad at me?
Lady, I'm very uncomfortable with this. Please put on a shirt. Look, I've got like 3 in my pocket right now. This
Link
one has...
looks very comfortable. Don't judge.
Well, no, he looks comfortable because he just got magic fairy juice. Oh.
Oh, okay. Back up.
Personal space, please.
All right, back up.
Can we not? Yeah, look at his face right now. He's very uncomfortable with the...
Yeah,
you know
now,
what he
now
actually...
he looks very uncomfortable.
What he's doing is he's very carefully trying to not look at her boobs, is what's going on there.
So he is Nero.
Sure. I haven't played it, but sure.
Nero has this somewhat understated character trait where whenever he's put into a situation where he might accidentally look at a woman that way, like when he's dealing with Gloria and her incredibly revealing costume, or when Lady pops out of one of the bosses early on in DMC5 and she hasn't got clothes on because she was powering the demon the whole time, and I guess her clothes melted away. He's really goddamn bashful about it. He's just like, I have a girlfriend.
What are you, hot?
I shouldn't be.